Welcome to the Building Your Career podcast. I'm your host, Don Tarjanskas, and join us as we explore the world of construction. Each episode, we welcome a guest that shares career highlights and career advice, and hopefully inspires the next generation of construction professionals. Welcome to another edition of the Building Your Career podcast. Today, I'm joined by not one, but three guests from Morrisroe that I'm very excited to have on. Hear people's story, hear more about the company, and hear about the good things that they're doing for all their trainees and juniors as well. So I think I'll start where we always start off. Ligia, could you tell us a little bit more about Morrisroe as a company, and particularly what your role is in the business as well?
Sure. First of all, thank you for having us. It's really nice to be here. So Morrisroe Limited is a groundworks and reinforced concrete frame specialist. We have delivered a lot of projects. We've done the London Aquatic Centre, Tottenham Hotspur football stadium, which everyone knows about, the Birmingham Library, 40 Leadenhall, and many, many other large, complex concrete frames. We're currently working on the Elephant and Castle Town Centre project, which is expected to be completed in the summer of 24. We are also part of a group which delivers an all-encompassing service. We're doing anything from pre-construction design through to demolition, piling, and completion of the final structures. In terms of my role as a social value manager, I implement strategies in order to enhance the company's positive impact on local communities. We do this through apprenticeships, internships, work placement opportunities, job opportunities for a lot of local people, various school and community engagements, which we do across all of our projects. So
Fantastic.
really a variety of things.
Yeah, it sounds like a great company, and a company that truly cares about giving back to the local community as well, which, you know, can be really seriously overlooked in this day and age. So I suppose we'll start off with Midia then. Could you talk us through what kind of inspired you to pursue a journey in the construction industry then? How did it all start off for you?
Well, I was always fascinated by buildings and architecture. Architecture actually was my initial route, but when I was in college, I got to meet various people in the industry through site visits and work experiences, and I soon realized that I preferred the technical part that engineers play in construction. And it was actually a work experience with Morrisroe when I was 16 that started it all. You know, I asked the right questions, I showed genuine interest of learning whilst on my placement, and I got recognised for that. And a year or so later, I started my civil engineering degree apprenticeship with Morrisroe.
That's amazing. And same to you, Cory. What kind of inspired you to pursue a journey in construction? Where did it all begin for you as well?
Okay, so I kind of grew up in a construction-based family household. My dad working in construction, grandparents, and a lot of the men in my family had already been in construction. So I kind of grew up in that environment. So it was kind of just second nature as I grew up. And then eventually I got to the point where I was working for like little private companies, and I knew that if this was the career that I was going to take in life, then I'd rather be working for a big, really well-known company who I could see myself progressing and developing with. And so I found Morrisroe.
Brilliant. So out of interest then, Cory, what was it particularly about Morrisroe that attracted you to want to get involved and attracted you to join the business as well?
Well, I had some family connections, so I had people that I know worked for Morrisroe before, so I already knew it was a fairly well-known and a good company to work for. And like I said, the fact that I wanted to kind of step up into a bigger company, it kind of fit just perfectly because of the size of Morrisroe and the projects they had and where they were based as well. So.
Okay, brilliant. And with you as well, Midia, was there anything about Morrisroe in particular that it really grabbed your interest at the beginning?
I mean, Morrisroe was always my first choice when I was looking at apprenticeships because of that positive experience in that work placement. I mean, I felt really comfortable and welcome at only 16 too. So I think I was just also just really impressed and about how patient and encouraging the engineers were on site with all my eager questions as a college student. So yeah.
And I think that goes back to a lot of the advice that I know some of the directors have given on here is just be inquisitive at the beginning as well, and ask those questions. And, you know, we're trying to bust myths on this podcast as well that, you know, a lot of people think you can't ask the questions out on the building site and no one's going to give you the time of day, but that's simply not true. You know, people are willing to help and people do want to kind of reach out as well. So I suppose, Ligia, what would you say would be the things that the company kind of implement from day one then to really encourage people to, you know, be open, ask the questions and are really enjoying the working environment?
We very much encourage them, like Midia said earlier, and like you just said, we encourage them to ask the questions and actively participate and engage in tasks in order for them to deepen their understanding in the role. We advise them to seek out opportunities, as many as possible, in order to gain that practical experience from the professionals, from their mentors. Getting stuck into a project is the best way of learning, really.
Yeah, definitely. I found that out myself. I mean, I did 3 years of architecture, realised I knew absolutely nothing about how things were built, and just got a job on a building site before I carried on and did my other 2 years of architecture. And I learned more in a week on a building site than I ever did in a classroom for 3 years. So I completely agree with you. You've just got to get stuck in and get on with the projects and ask those questions as well. But out of interest, Cory, could you talk us through a little, you know, the projects that you've worked on and some of the exciting things that you've been part of since you've joined the company?
So when I started out for the company, it was with this apprenticeship. So I've only really been on one project so far. But the project I've been working on is the West one. It's a White City. It's supposed to be a 3-year-ish project. And I was on it from near enough the beginning. So I've managed to see quite a few different aspects and phases of the actual building project and different jobs that the actual job entails and what goes into the different phases, and it's given me an insight on what actually needs to be done on site and where I can further develop my skills and what there is else for me to learn.
And I think that's what it's all about as well. If you can see that project through right from beginning to end, you know, I can guarantee in 10 years' time, you're going to drive past that project and went, I did that.
Yeah, definitely. And it
That's
gives
what
you
it's all
a
about.
broader spectrum of what the job involves as well, seeing it from the start to the end.
Definitely. And the same with you, Midia. Could you talk us through some of the exciting stuff that you've been part of as well in your journey?
Yeah, I mean, I guess a full circle moment during that work experience that I did. I worked on one of the residential buildings that's a part of the Elephant and Park redevelopment in Elephant and Castle. And ironically, in my first year of my apprenticeship, I worked on another Elephant and Park building. So I've had a lot of involvement in Elephant and Castle. When I also had experience in the structural engineering company under Morrisroe Group, Kingscote Design. So I got to work on a couple of our projects while working with them. Right now, I'm on the Elephant and Castle Town Centre project, which is a huge and complex development, and it's just really exciting engineering wise, and to see how all the constraints are being tackled and managed.
That's so cool. Really cool. And out of interest as well, just kind of following on from that, because obviously you've kind of come into the company, you've been given, you know, valuable support and training and development in place. But was there any kind of myths that you had about the construction industry as a whole before you joined that simply turned out not to be true?
I think in terms of diversity, of course, it is a male-dominated industry, but it's so diverse in terms of culture, race, and I'm really seeing the change in the ratio to male to female engineers, and it's just really refreshing to see that. I've been on lots of sites, and it's just been a huge relief, especially as a woman of color, to see such diversity and to work with such a um, variety of people
I think
inside.
that's an excellent point there, and what a lot of people would just, they would just have this preconceived idea that it's just full of really old blokes who, are all very set in their ways. But there's such a diverse range of people out there on every single site. So yeah, I think you've busted a very good myth, and certainly a hot topic on this podcast as well. So same question to you, Cory. Is there anything that that you just thought the industry was going to be? Maybe your family were telling you, oh, it's going to be definitely like this, and it certainly wasn't the case.
I think kind of Midia's covered a lot of what it was. When I went in there, I thought there was going to be a lot more, like you said, just the old set in their way workforce, but you kind of come in it, and I'm kind of now the minority working with a lot of people of different ethnicities in this. It's actually, like you said, a relief to come in and see that it's not just one group of people that work there. There is a massive range of people working, and it's not just different skin colors. There's people of all different ages, and it's nice working with a range of people that all come from different places, but eventually all end up working together to complete these projects and jobs efficiently and smoothly.
Definitely. It's all about the team setup, and everyone gels with each other, everyone works well with each other. So yeah, I'm a firm believer in that. So Ligia, then obviously you've had a lot of people who have kind of come through the trainee ranks, and you've supported a lot and developed them as well. But is there kind of any one common thread or any one piece of advice that you would give anyone who is either considering a career in construction or has just started out?
I would say it's really important when starting in the construction sector to have a CSCS card and complete the CITB Health and Safety Awareness course. Are necessary for anyone at the beginning of a journey in order to actually step on site. But more than anything, I would say do a work experience placement. They're invaluable. They give such a great insight. It's something that will allow you to kind of get an understanding of what a construction site really is, and what career opportunities are there. There's a lot of kind of ideology around the fact that construction, it's all about carpenters and steel fixers and all of that, the basic trades, but it's just so much more than that. And once you get to do a work placement, you'll get exposure to both the site and the office, and you'll have a much better understanding of all of the roles there and what it entails.
Definitely, that's very, very good. And Midia, same question to you. Is there any kind of one bit of advice that perhaps you would give yourself if you could turn back the hands of time when you first started out?
Oh gosh, any advice? I think as we kind of discussed before about the questions, is despite I did ask lots of questions, to put down some of that anxiety that you aren't going to be disregarded in any way for asking certain questions. There's no such thing as stupid questions. I think that's a common thing that young people say or think to themselves. And that a huge thing once going into my career and hearing a lot is that from other engineers is that we're learning every single day, despite us working here for 10 years. They're learning something every day on site. So I think the only advice I'd give myself is to put that anxiety aside and know that you're not just learning, but everyone on site is still learning every day.
Definitely. And that's such a common theme here. And I'm glad you really backed that up as well. People are there to help, and people will be willing to give you the information. You've just got to get out there and ask the questions. So yeah, excellent piece of advice. The same to you, Cory. Is there any advice that you would give yourself when you first started out then?
I think when I first started, there was a lot of opportunities that I think if you're coming into it, you might turn it down. But any courses, and there's certain stuff that will be offered to you, and I feel like if you're offered a course or anything like that, it will all help in your personal development. So any opportunity that given on site or anyone's given on site, I think it's worth taking up, because you can never be too trained or overqualified. It's all just a learning point, and everything does help in the development of employees and people working out on site. So
Definitely.
just take every opportunity you're given.
Are you a job seeker, tired of endlessly scrolling through job boards with no success? Has your job search hit a dead end? Well, we're here to tell you there's another way. Here at Quest Personnel, we offer a variety of free resources to help job seekers just like you. Our team of expert recruiters is here to help you through every step of the job search process, from CV writing to interview techniques. But that's not all. We also offer exclusive access to workshops, networking events, and other job roles that you simply won't find anywhere else. So what are you waiting for? Get in touch now on our website, questpersonnel.co.uk. Definitely, and that leads really nicely onto our next question as well. You know, I speak to a lot of directors who have maybe come from a trades route and haven't gone down the education background and just worked their way up. And equally, I've spoken to a lot of people who've come from the university background and kind of worked their way up as well. So you mentioned kind of courses there. Is there any particular standout courses or any particular thing that people should be aiming for if they are looking to kind of pursue a career, particularly with you yourself being on the formwork side of things?
Yes, yeah, I think it varies between. See, for Midia, it'd be different because you're more on the engineering, you're actually in the office side a bit more. But if you're out on the site, I think you're looking at like first aid, any kind of health and safety related stuff, manual handling, they're all kind of base courses that should be done. And then if you were looking to further develop and use more skills out on site, if you required a few things like PASMA tickets, IPAF, cherry pick like tickets, anything where you then have to do the further training and can add to what you're allowed to do on site. I think they're definitely essential to still fixers, anyone in the trades.
Okay, brilliant. Same to you as well, Midia. Is there any particular courses or qualifications or any particular routes that people could take to be able to get involved and get into the industry?
Definitely. Similar to what Cory said, of course, any health and safety based training is great to help you alongside your CSCS card, helps you to get out onto site. But to get onto an engineering route similar to mine, I'd recommend getting a civil engineering or construction management degree or vocational. And also when you are on site, it's always great to if you have a specific interest to specialize in specific courses such as the temporary works general awareness, so you are able to QA on site some of the temporary works. So yes, get out there, see what you're interested in, and find a specialist course for that.
Definitely. And with you as well, Ligia, is there, obviously you've probably seen people from a lot of different backgrounds and things like that. Is there any kind of courses that are kind of standout courses or any educational routes that are stand out as well?
Obviously, math and English is at the core of any apprenticeship, really. So whether it's GCSEs or A levels, math and English are very important. But in terms of training or courses, it varies very much from an apprenticeship to another. They're all at very different levels. I guess it's important to have a CSCS card and the health and safety awareness course. After that, what we do as a business, we always kind of bespoke each apprenticeship depending on the level and the type of apprenticeship, and we offer a variety of courses that match that particular apprenticeship. So yeah, I would say it's just such a large, diverse range. It's important to start with, to have a bit of work experience, have your GCSEs or A levels, and then decide what route you want to take. And then from there, we pretty much look after you and ensure that you're put on the relevant courses.
That's great, and that's really good to to not have a one-size-fits-all model for training and development, because I think where a lot of companies do get it wrong is that they assume that they only have to put one training pack in place or one learning and development pack in place, and that's it, and then everyone can fit into that. But if you are aware that there's lots of different avenues that you can go down within the industry and have got separate training packs for each of those, then that's great, because another common theme on this as well is that, as you said before, it isn't just your trades and labor that are out on site. There's so many different avenues that you can go down. And if Morrisroe is a business of supporting that with specific training, then that's perfect. That's what a lot of companies out there aren't doing at the moment. So that's great. So just going back to Cory, a lot of people are quite interested about the projects that you've working on, but is there any particular kind of challenges that you've faced on site, and any specific examples that you can give, or anything that you've kind of come across time and time again, and how you kind of overcame those kind of issues?
I think getting into the construction industry and this trade itself, you've got to be prepared for the fact that it's long hours and it's long days, but there's good things that come with it. Yeah, I think that was probably one of the biggest challenges I faced, going from like a normal working day to working quite long hours. And it's draining work, but it's rewarding work, working with the people you're working with and actually seeing the project develop and seeing yourself daily improve. And like everyone said it before, like every day you're learning something new. There's never a day on site where there's not something interesting going on, or you're not learning a better way or a more efficient way of doing something. And even though there's supervisors and people above you on site, everyone's learning off each other. And I feel like you've got to come in with the right mindset, and that's something that early on I thought, that was going to be a challenge, but in no time it was something you get used to.
Good. And that all goes back to just having a good team around you and that kind of good team working environment. And for you, Midia, is there any kind of specific challenges or obstacles that you faced early on in your career, and how did you overcome them? Just to give a bit of advice to people who are first starting out.
Yeah. I mean, specific to being an apprentice and coming fresh out of college as a young person, I had that initial challenge of adapting to the fast-paced environment of construction. The sector is so fast-paced, it is intense, there is a lot going on, and as enjoyable as it is, being a young person, having to adapt to that was hard, whilst also going to university, whilst also having a personal life. So I think that was my initial challenge was adapting, and now I'm able to balance my work life and my social life without impacting the other, and appreciate. I feel like I appreciate my work better that way now as well. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. And just kind of leading on to our final question then as well, because I know the CIOB have produced a report recently to say we're going to need 250,000 more people in the UK construction industry by 2027 just to sustain the industry. So obviously we've got to make the industry attractive. We've got to make it a viable career opportunity, and really be a little bit more vocal in promoting the industry as a great place to work, which is exactly what we're trying to do in this podcast. But I think for you, Ligia, what can the industry do as a whole, either on a smaller scale level with directors personally and how they treat the rest of their team, or on a larger scale company level? What can the industry do better to attract, maintain, and nurture that kind of young talent coming through?
I think we need to start by improving young people's perception of the industry. I think a lot of young people and a lot of people in general don't know that the construction industry is one of the highest paying sectors in the UK. Mm-hmm. It's offering a diverse range of roles, both on-site and off-site. And I think a lot of people don't know that. And like I said before, a lot of people think that construction is all about kind of getting dirty and just doing the trade roles. But there are so many opportunities within our offices that are brilliant careers in construction and offer great opportunities for career progression. I'm also a strong believer of educational partnership. Obviously, Morrisroe are really passionate about bringing young people into construction. So we collaborate with the likes of Construction Youth Trust and volunteer in schools and colleges in order to promote the variety of apprenticeships which we have on offer. And when we go there, we talk about what construction is, what we do, the roles that nobody heard of that they are absolutely loving, but they just did not have the opportunity to discover themselves. We're also taking part in the Open Doors event, which is delivered by Build UK. Open Doors is a great opportunity for anyone interested in the construction industry. It offers an opportunity to visit live construction sites. Once you're there, you can ask a lot of questions. You can see what being on site really looks like, understand the variety of opportunities. And I think it's an excellent way for young people to inquire, to find out about how to start a career in construction, what are the next steps. And I think anyone interested in construction should try and attend one of these events. It's really eye-opening.
That's brilliant. So with you, Cory, obviously I know you've landed on your feet with Morrisroe and they've been super supportive, but what do you think the industry can do a little bit better in terms of that outreach to people to attract them into the industry?
I think Ligia said it spot on, to be honest. I think a lot of people kind of my age or around my kind of age group coming out of school don't really have the right perception on what the industry has to offer and the careers that you could do. Because when I first started out, I was kind of tunnel vision set on getting out on site and actually working within the trade for the company. But when you actually see what they have to offer and what kind of different careers there are, it's not just being out on site with a hammer in your hand or like sitting in an office. There is other stuff. You've got health and safety aspects. You've got all kind of different. There's so many different routes that you can go down. I think people just need to be. People need to see what they actually have to offer.
Definitely. I completely agree. And just final question to you as well, Midia. What do you think in terms of what the industry could do better just for that outreach and getting people on board?
Just to, obviously, because perception is obviously the biggest thing. Again, I also feel the same way. But to follow on from that, is not only just the perception from young people, but the perception of women and people of color. They also have that perception that the construction industry is just one size fits all, and that women don't have a place in the industry or as engineers. Same with people of color. But as we discussed before, it's changing, and I see different faces every day, and I work with other female engineers and other sites, and it's refreshing. So I feel like that perception is another thing to highlight.
Definitely. Well, I've genuinely really enjoyed this chat. I thought it's been incredible to learn, and it's very inspiring to see all the hard work that Morrisroe are doing and really caring about people's training and development. And we've got two people here who are the kind of the product of that and who have been very open about what their business has done for them. So Cory, Midia, Ligia, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on as guests.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the Building Your Career podcast. We hope you enjoyed hearing from our guest and learning about the different career paths available. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe so we can reach even more listeners. And if anyone wants any free CV advice or simply wants to know the options available to them, don't hesitate to get in touch.